Today we're going to do a star power review for Pam, going over her new star power, Mama's Squeeze, and we're going to compare it to Mama's Hug in every single game mode. I'll tell you which star power is better and why, giving you a complete breakdown of how to use both star powers, when, where, and why. Let's do it. Now let me know if you want me to do this for other star powers, but here's how this one is going to work. We're going to put both star powers for Pam in a tier in every game mode, including ticketed events and event modifiers, telling you what sort of play style suits each star power and which one is overall better. But before that, I want to quickly go over the new star power, Mama's Squeeze, since it is a new star power and there's some things that everyone should know. First off, Mama's Hug, you already understand the star power. It's not a new one, but the main thing to just think about is that this is a passive ability. It's always in effect. If you ever need to survive a little bit better as opposed to dealing damage, then this is obviously going to be the one you want to go with. Now, Mama's Squeeze turns Pam's healing station into an area of effect attack turret. It can hit multiple people at the same time as long as they're inside of her healing station. Now, it does 300 damage per second. Compare that to the amount of healing her heal station does, about 450. And you can tell, even with this new star power, her healing station is still much better at healing than it is dealing damage. It's also important to note that even if you're hitting enemies with her star power, with your turret, it doesn't charge up your next super. So using her turret to deal a bunch of damage, it's not going to get you another turret back. So you still want to be using this primarily for healing, but it does mean you can be more aggressive with your healing station. But again, there's going to be a much bigger effect with the healing than the damage throughout a match. So don't be too aggressive with it because it is really easy to take out the turret. But one interesting thing to note with this star power is now you can use her turret in a really grassy area like Snake Prairie or like Cavern Churn, and it will actually scout out for you, because if they enter in the zone of your turret, it will automatically tell you because it will deal damage to them. Now, you don't want to use your turret just for scouting out, but it's a sort of nice added bonus on those type of maps. And to be fair, this sort of star power is actually much better against close range units, because those are the units that you can fight and be in your turret, and they will also be in range of your turret. If you're facing long range units, you don't really ever want to try and use your turret aggressively. It's more something used against close range units. Also, take a look at this clip. You can see the range you have to be in for the star power in the turret to actually take effect. It's actually kind of annoying as far as you can look like you're inside of range of it, but really not. You have to be fully inside. Almost all of your character model has to be inside of the healing station in order to take damage. So the range on this is not that crazy. All right, now let's put both star powers in a tier for every game mode. Now, one thing I really quickly want to say is I am going to talk about both of these star powers at lower trophies and at higher trophies, because one thing to keep in mind is as you get higher in trophies, map control becomes a lot more important, as opposed to really aggressive plays that can pay off because people are uncoordinated and don't know what they're doing. So as you get higher in trophies, Mama's Hug becomes a little bit more valuable than it would be otherwise, and Mama's Squeeze becomes a little bit less value than otherwise, because the aggressive turret plays are way less controlling than just the extra health, which keeps you alive and in the fight longer. Now in gem grab, Mama's Hug is going to be a B tier and Mama's Squeeze is going to be D tier. Mama's Hug is definitely the better option in gem grab, because I mean, gem grab, first of all, Pam is usually the gem carrier, so she really wants to stay alive, so the extra healing is definitely a good thing. On top of that, you don't want to be doing aggressive turrets very often in gem grab, because again, you need to stay alive, so you need that healing. So there's not going to be very many opportunities for Mama's Squeeze to really get that much damage. You'd almost always much rather have the extra healing. Now in Brawl Ball, I'm going to have both star powers as C tier, but I am going to have Mama's Squeeze as the better star power for the majority of people. Although again, as I was saying earlier, higher trophies favors control, so if you're a higher trophy, then I would probably go with the more controlling one, as in Mama's Hug, because healing is always better in that regard. But in Brawl Ball, you can definitely do aggressive turrets, either in trying to score a goal and throwing it over walls, or you can have it as a bit of area denial, as there's not many throwers in Brawl Ball, and throwers can take out that turret really quickly. So you can do aggressive turrets, and it's a bit of area denial because they don't want to walk into it, which is actually pretty good. You can also, of course, use that turret with Mama Squeeze to try and stop a goal as well. But essentially, it's kind of area denial, so it's pretty nice in that regard. but neither of these star powers are that strong, so they're not that important. Heist, again, both star powers are going to be C tier. It's kind of similar to Brawl Ball, where in lower trophies, I'm gonna recommend Mama's Squeeze, and in higher trophies, I'm gonna recommend Mama's Hug. But look, it's not quite as many uses in Heist as in Brawl Ball as far as using Mama's Squeeze, but you can definitely still use it on pushes or stopping pushes, because a lot of times enemies don't want to stop to shoot your turret. They want to kill you, or they want to attack the safe. So you can get some extra value out of that, healing yourself up and dealing damage, but it kind of sometimes feels like you're wasting a super because you're not always charging it that much back up. So both of these star powers are a little bit helpful, but they're not that important. Now in Bounty, and I apologize I don't have any Bounty gameplay, but Mama's Hug is definitely gonna be the better star power. I have it as C tier, and I have Mama's Squeeze at D tier. You could arguably put it at F tier though in this mode, although there are a couple closer range maps where you could potentially use it, which is why it's at D tier. But in Bounty, it's all about control and being passive. A lot of times, every time you get shot, you're supposed to go and heal up and make sure you don't die. So that's where that healing station is really helpful in that regard. So if you're using it really aggressively, your healing station is not going to be staying alive, and it's not going to help you stay alive. And of course, Mama's Hug also helps you stay alive. So that's definitely a really good thing in Bounty. So I would definitely recommend Mama's Hug, although again, it's not super important. It's not a ton of healing, and it's not going to heal your teammates that much, but it's more important though to just not have super aggressive turrets in Bounty. In C's, I'm going to have Mama's Hug as C tier and Mama's Squeeze as D tier. So Mama's Hug definitely better. Now in C's, part of the reason Mama's Squeeze is not that great is even though like Heist you can use it on the enemy Ike turret and while you push in C's, you don't do very many pushes. Usually it's 1 or 2 a game, and they tend to not last very long. It's a lot of quick bursts of damage. If you're staying in there a long time, you're probably going to win the game because you're doing a ton of damage, and at that point, it doesn't really matter whether you have Mama's Squeeze or Mama's Hug. But since you're not making many pushes and there's not many opportunities for aggressive turrets, you really want to go for control so you can get as many bolts as possible. Even after you make that push, you still want to keep control, which is where Mama's Hug is definitely the better option in Siege. Solo Showdown. Solo Showdown have both star powers as C tier, but I think Mama's Hug is better. Why is that? 2 reasons. First of all, Solo Showdown is all about surviving, so that extra healing is going to help you survive even longer. The other thing is it's always active. In Solo Showdown, it can be hard to get that many supers. On top of that, it's such a big map. Her heal station is honestly not that great in the mode because once you place it down, you're kind of committed to that area. And it kind of makes you a target as well because people, you know, they know you're there. You can't hide with a heal station up, and they want to take it out. So there's a lot of negatives about her heal station in Solo Showdown. So I'd rather have the ability that doesn't rely on the heal station, and that's Mama's Hug. Now in Duo Showdown, I don't think that's quite as true as I have Mama's Squeeze as the better star power. Although again, they're both C tier. It's very close. You could go with either one, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But the part of the reason I have Mama's Squeeze is better in Duo Showdown is because since you can keep respawning, you can get your super a lot more, and there's a lot more targets for you to keep on getting your super off. On top of that, you're fairly likely to hit 2 people with that star power ability at the same time, and you're also more likely to stick to an area of the map than you would be in Solo Showdown. So having that heal station in a spot isn't quite as negative as it would be in Solo Showdown. But again, both of these star powers are fairly similar level-wise, and neither of them are that great. Now, before we do the ticketed events, let's do the event modifiers. And I apologize, I don't have any graphic for the event modifiers, partly because I'm just going to do these pretty quickly. So Healing Mushroom, I'm going to have Mama's Hug as C tier and Mama's Squeeze as D tier. Why? Because, look, Mama's Squeeze does 300 damage per second, and the Healing Mushroom does 1,000 health per second. So it completely out heals the damage, and it makes it a lot of times not even that worth it. So you'd rather just have the ability that actually can help you stay alive. It's pretty simple in that regard. Energy drink, I have both as D tier, but I have Mama's Hug as slightly better. Part of the reason they're both D tier is because neither of them really help you like actually stay alive, give you a much better chance of staying alive versus someone with energy drink. So you'd rather just have that extra healing that's always available, because you probably do have to move around the map a lot in energy drink in order to stay alive. Now in Angry Robo, I have both star powers as C tier, but I do have Mama's Hug as better. Partly for two reasons. One, with that Robo running around the map, you're gonna be moving around the map a lot, so you're less likely to stay near that healing station, so it's become less valuable. Also, you don't want to use that healing station against the robot because it's kind of a waste, because then you're committed to that location. You'd rather have that star power that helps you take out that robot and help you stay alive while doing so, because you will get that healing hitting that robot, so that's a definite plus. In Meteors, I have Mama's Hug as B tier and Mama Squeeze as D tier. In Meteors, those meteors target your turret, so that turret is way less valuable because it will take it out and it's less likely to stay alive for that long. Partially also because there's walls will go down and there's a lot of long range brawlers that can snipe it from a distance, so it's not often going to stay up for very long, and aggressive turrets versus long range brawlers tends to not work that well, so definitely want to go with that extra healing, because you will be probably taking a little bit extra damage in this mode because of meteors, so definitely go for the healing star power. Now you probably noticed that in 3v3 Mama's Hug is definitely the better star power, and that's especially true as you get higher in trophies and control becomes more important. But in solo and duo showdown, it kind of comes down to personal preference versus your play style, how aggressive you play, how controlling or passive you play. But in ticketed events, there's a definitely clear winner for which star power is better. Let's start with Robo Rumble. In Robo Rumble, I have Mama's Hug as B tier and Mama Squeeze as A tier. Mama Squeeze to me is definitely the better option. Why? Because in Robo Rumble, the thing that tends to happen, or the reason you lose, is often because you get overwhelmed with too many robots. So having a star power that does area of effect damage is really useful. You can place it on the turret or behind a wall because there's no throwers, so it will be more likely to stay alive, and it can attack robots without them being able to attack them for at least a little amount of time until they pass the wall. But you can place that down and you can hit multiple robots at the same time, and you can end up, as you get towards a lot of robots at once, doing a good amount of damage per second with that star power. So Mama Squeeze is definitely, in my opinion, the better star power, and it's gonna be really good in Robo Rumble. Now in boss fight, both of these star powers are really solid, but I'm gonna have Mama's Hug as A tier and Mama Squeeze as S tier. I think it's gonna be game-changing for boss fight, or maybe not game-changing, but it's gonna be really, really good. Why? Because you can just do a ton of damage. Normally in 3v3 modes versus other players, that turret gets taken out really quickly, but versus the boss, you can protect your turret and just keep it within range of it at the same time. So throughout the course of a game, you can do a ton of damage, especially in the early game with that star power. So it's actually going to be pretty important, and the most important thing in boss fight is doing as much damage as quickly as possible, because you don't want to let that boss get to the higher levels. You don't want to let that boss get stronger. You want to kill him as quickly as possible before he gets to the next stage, the next angry mode, or whatever you want to call it. Now, big game. Mama's Hug is going to be F tier and Mama Squeeze is going to be A tier. First of all, as the boss, your healing is reduced by a ton, so Mama's Hug, the healing isn't really that relevant. And against the boss, you often just get two-shot, so whether you have that small amount of healing really doesn't matter. So you would just want to go for that damage every single time. On top of that, as the boss, it can actually be pretty useful because that turret will have a ton of health. So against 5 people, it might hit a couple of them and do at least some damage. Not that bad. Now, which star power is better, and if they're in the shop, which one should you be buying, or are either of them worth buying at all? I mean, look, if you're a big ticket event person, then you should definitely really try and get Mama Squeeze, because it will actually help you out a lot with PAM in ticketed events. If you're more of a 3v3 player, you should be going for Mama's Hug. Of course, you can also talk about if you're a control player versus aggro player. If you're a control player, you can go for Mama's Hug. Aggro player, go for Mama Squeeze. You can definitely go based on playstyle, but either of these star powers, I don't think either of them are that great, and this is definitely not on my wish list. If I'm really trying to target a star power, it wouldn't be that high. Let me know down below if you thought this was useful and you'd like me to do this for other brawlers. I'd definitely love to hear your feedback, and maybe we'll do it for some more if enough people want it. But that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.